The Sunken Temple raid has now officially been cleared by one guild so far, so the world first has now been completed. Shout out to none of the above who have now officially taken every single world first race in every single version of Season of Discovery. They have also currently held the world record for every single speedrun in Wrath of the Lich King, and they've been basically one of the world's best or top guilds in the entirety of all of classic World of Warcraft. You can also see that the epic sword did drop, but the boss did despawn. I wonder if I can show that really fast. But this comes just about 10 minutes after a nerf happened to the Shade of Eranikus boss. This boss did have 4 million HP. So you can see here, none of the above is the only guild in the world that is now 8 of 8. They also had to then go kill the final boss, which is the kind of essence of Hakkar. So they have now gone in and cleared all of these, but there was a change from 4 million HP down to 2.71 million HP for this boss. And this happened live on stream while they were sitting there about to pull the boss. There was a major nerf. It was 33%, and I will show you the exact changes. I talked about this in a video yesterday about how the bosses in Trash need to have their HP values nerfed. It wasn't necessarily that the fights were hard, it's just they had too much HP, so it was really long fights. Other than this Shade fight, this is really a tough fight for everyone. And now finally to the real challenging boss, the Shade of Eranikus. This boss is absolutely a struggle, and it will, even with the nerf, be a struggle for everyone. You can see that it originally was at 4.01 million HP, and I will show you the nerf version or the nerf values a little bit later. But the strategy that NOTA actually came up with is really good. They were not streaming this until today, but this is a really solid strategy. The boss will do a frontal breath that you just saw go out, and that frontal breath will hit the tanks. The tank hit by that will have their armor reduced by 100%. So you need to do a tank swap here, or else you will end up basically wiping. The boss will also cast, well, here's that going out. The corrosive breath is getting taunted. Breath goes out on DJ right here, and then the tank swap happens again, and Cope gets basically aggro. Now you also saw the boss sending out these little spits. You will see it in 1 second. The boss is going to do this deep slumber. Now these spits, what they do is they attack or target ranged. So you want to have the range stack up, and they will go out. 3 of them will go send out, and they will spawn a cloud on the ground. And let me swap the POV to take notes POV again to show you a ranged perspective of this as these go out. So you can have all of your ranged stack up and just move as a group. When these go out right here, everyone moves as a group, because if you get hit by this poison cloud, you get stunned for 15 seconds, and there's nothing you can do to get out of it. You basically get slept is essentially what it is. But the good thing is there is going to be a one-shot mechanic, just like you saw on the last boss, where if you are not slept, if you are not asleep at the time, then your entire raid gets one shot, or everyone that isn't slept gets one shot. So just mark one ranged player and deal with these as simple as possible by just dodging these by moving around. Whenever they go out, you will dodge them. Another one goes out, they will move over to the side. Everyone will just make sure you don't get hit by this, and eventually we will get the Waking Nightmare right here. This is the cast called Waking Nightmare, where the boss kind of goes purple. There's a purple circle around him that will now one-shot everyone who doesn't get slept, except for the tank from NOTA is actually LOSing that. Now, everyone else run into the sleep, then you will get stunned, obviously, but the second that the cast finishes, it will unstun you. That is it. That is the main deal on this boss. Now, at 70%, the boss phases into the first transition, where the boss will go to sleep and take 99% less damage itself. You see it goes into the deep slumber. It will spawn 2 adds, the lumbering dreamwalkers, which need to be interrupted. If you do not interrupt these, they will stun you again, and the boss will just wake up and basically delete you. So defeat these ads, which also now have nerfed HP as well, and then get back on the boss. You see they're basically doing no damage because this is the first pull after the nerf, I believe. Now, then the boss will spawn whelplings, a ton of whelpling ads, little dragons, and they will actually cast basically, they'll do like a ranged cast. If you tank the boss where NOTA was tanking the boss, all of these will spawn instantly on each other. They literally will all spawn on the exact same location, and there will be like waves of these whelplings. If you tank it here, you will be able to AoE them down so quickly that it's not an issue. You see again, that was actually just a spawn of the whelplings. They will go down before they can really reach anyone. They will stand there and cast their ranged attack before they can reach anyone. The other major thing to watch out for on this boss early on is that the boss does cast a fear, but that fear is completely interruptible. You can kick the fear. Please kick the fear. If you get feared into the clouds, then you're stunned for 15 seconds and it'll probably instantly cause a wipe. You can see one whelpling is still alive. It just gets burned down right there. Now at 30%, the boss does a second transition. This will spawn 2 more ads. The boss will go to sleep, spawn 2 more ads that you need to deal with, and then it'll spawn stronger ads. These stronger ads will then, basically like they're elites, they will have 22,000 HP instead of 30,000, which was before the nerf, 29,000 before the nerf. And those ads, as I zoom forward to 30% in a second, boom, 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 boom. Perfect. Those ads need to be interrupted. It'll spawn 3 of them at a time. You can see the skill bands right here. These will spawn 3 ads at a time. It's slightly above 30%. And these ads, you can see that they're getting silenced and stunned as much as possible because they will cast basically an acid rain, which if this cast goes off, you need to spread out or else a ton of people will be taking damage. You see an acid rain just dropped over there. Acid rain was dropped over there in the back, and you need to essentially deal with that. You will also be getting these small ads at, once I believe it's 10%. I'll show you guys in a second as Take Note just got stunned, but these are gonna be spawning 3 at a time. You need to down them, you need to interrupt them. That is the big issue. This fight gets really hectic, and if you fall behind on ads, you will not catch up. This is going to be an absolute guild killer, 100 million% a guild killer. So as we're moving forward, now once we get to 15%, it is getting a lot closer to them actually downing it. But even though this is the only guild in the world that has still killed this boss, it still gets incredibly hectic here at the end. Just watch it. Waking Nightmare is still going out, so you still need to stun yourselves. You do have the acid rains. You see all of these acid rains going out for everyone, as well as below 10%, which you're gonna notice in a second. The boss will start spawning both sets of ads. Now look at that, Emerald or Nightmare Whelplings. You now have to deal with all of the little ads as well as the big ads, which is a help having 19,000 mages where the living bombs can just kind of take them all out. But the boss is still doing all of his other mechanics at the same time. So you need to just play very clean here, and if it gets very, very scary, then you can actually start kiting the boss as much as you can to try to defeat it before it actually all takes you out, because these ads can all be slowed. And a really good thing that NOTA actually did was have all of their hunters be running entrapment spec for this. So entrapment is really nice so that you can have all of the ads will spawn in the exact same location if you're up on this ledge, and they will all just basically be in the slow trap and hopefully permanently entrapment. So which just stuns them, they can't move at all. So huge grats to NOTA on this first kill of Shade of Eranikus. This again did happen after the nerf. The boss had more HP than Patchwork. The HP values were ridiculously overtuned. Now this isn't the last boss technically. It was announced that NOTA had cleared the entire raid, but this isn't technically the last boss. You need to get the Egg of Hakkar now by doing the quest to go and deal with the final boss for the Avatar of Hakkar. This boss currently has 5.6 million HP, I believe it is. It is a insane amount of HP, so much higher than everyone else. All of the range stack on themselves. The boss is gonna put a debuff on 2 players, and the only way to cleanse that debuff is to be in front of the boss. The tanks are right here, 1 in the front, 1 in the back, and the melee are on the left side and the other melee are on the right side. So once you get the debuff, you can see Pantsface has the debuff. He's still able to control himself, or he gets dispelled there. Lex has the debuff here. He needs to stand basically in front of the boss because he has the blood debuff, which will never get off you. Riv also has it right now, and Lex does get drained by that frontal there, which then turns him into a skeleton and runs back into the ranged camp. That is pretty much like the big thing of the boss. The boss will cast Insanity on you, which will make you basically be semi-MC'd and like your raid group can kill you. You cleanse that, and then if you get the debuff, again, DJ has the debuff right now. Alondo just got it right here. Now you're gonna see both Riv, who is a melee hunter, as well as Alondo run in front of the boss when the boss is casting in a second. So the corrupted blood goes out. It's on DJ, who is the tank at the moment, Riv, who is going to run in front right here as the hunter, and Alondo. And then once that gets drained here with the drained blood, which is a frontal, you will be all turned into skellies, and you will move back into the ranged group. Unfortunately, that's like kind of really the mechanic. Like, I'm going to double time speed it, but that's it. This boss has ridiculous amounts of HP, but they did figure this strategy out that completely trivializes the entire encounter. There's a good amount of raid-wide damage that happens as well, but if you can handle this, you will absolutely be able to take this down. And huge GG's on figuring this out, because this was the third pull of the boss, and it has 5.6 million HP, which will obviously be nerfed probably more than in half. I would wager this will probably also be like a 56% nerf, but since this boss was not even engaged yet before the nerfs went live in the hotfix, then that basically meant that Blizzard left the HP up like crazy. Now, once the boss does put the debuff on everyone in the raid, then you need to do a ton of raid-wide healing and run everyone in front of the boss. That is like a crazy amount of damage that you're obviously having to deal with, and then you just basically rinse and repeat from there. Avatar of Hakkar does go down. This is literally the first pull after the reset, and it drops a ton of really good loot. But regardless, none of the above is still the only guild in the world currently to clear all of Sunken Temple. This was the longest race in the history of classic World of Warcraft, over 24 hours of the main boss not going down. This is incredible. It had a ton of HP, which again doesn't necessarily make it hard, but that Shade of Eranikus fight, especially below 10%, is insanely hectic, even with the nerfs. I would actually anticipate it gets nerfed a lot more. Like, honestly, I would anticipate it gets nerfed a lot more. Again, though, huge grats to the guild for taking this down. If you want to see any of these streamers and show some support, I'll have links to their streams in the description. But shout out to Take Note, shout out to Alondo, Holy Palace Sway, massive shout out to Cope, who comes up with like so many of these strategies, and just everyone in the guild is so good at just putting this all together. They come in, win the world first race, and then go back to winning the Wrath of the Lich King races every time. And this was their last day of attempting any of the pulls because they were going full focus on ICC, finishing out as the world record holders at ICC before Cataclysm comes out. So guys, I hope you enjoyed. I know this was a little bit longer of a video, but hopefully it also explains everything to you and shows you how they were able to clear the raid so fast.